This is the story of a boy who had some magical powers through which he could know when and how a person will die. How? To know this, let's move towards the story. The film starts with a painful accident because a plane has just crashed. The destroyed debris was scattered everywhere, and the number of dead people is in hundreds. But luckily, a small child named Shin survives and is searching for his mom and dad, who are probably dead. Meanwhile, he hears the voice of a girl who was asking Shin for help, but he is so small that he does not understand what to do. And then a big part of the plane falls on that girl. Now it is not shown whether she was dead or alive, and the scene shifts to a few years later where we see Shin, who is now grown up and works at a car garage. Shin's boss, the garage owner, treats him like his own son, and Shin also feels a reflection of his father in him because his mom and dad really died in that accident. The garage owner is soon going to open another garage, and he wants Shin to become its manager, but he refuses this offer because he feels that he is not right for this position right now. The owner still gives him a chance to think, while the owner's daughter also convinces Shin because she also feels that only he will be right for this post. Now, another worker working in this garage was angry with this. The reason behind this was that he always felt jealous of Shin because the owner gave importance to Shin in every work. He often expressed his anger by harassing Shin. Even today, he bullies him and pushed him and went away from there, due to which Shin's mobile gets broken. That's why, after finishing the work, he went to a shop to get the phone repaired. There, he met a worker girl whose name was Ao. Shin tells that his phone is broken. Please fix it. But according to Ao, it was a very old model, and parts were hard to find. But still, she somehow fixes Shin's phone. That is why even at night, when he was looking at his phone, he started remembering Ao. The next day, he takes the metro to come to work, in which the hands of a man standing with him suddenly start to disappear. With the help of which he can see the future of people, especially their death, and the disappearing hands of this man also give proof that he is going to die. But Shin cannot do anything. That is why he goes to his work, where the owner's daughter tries to persuade him to become the manager. But Shin does not give any special answer. At night, he passes in front of the same mobile shop, and his eyes were still searching for Ao. Meanwhile, a stranger collides with him and passes from there. His body was also disappearing. That's why Shin starts following her, thinking, what is going to happen to her? And after going some distance, a car blows her up and crushes her. Shin regrets that he could not do anything to save her. That's why he gets very upset. And the next day, he asks the owner's daughter that if she gets such a power that she can see people's future and also knows when someone is going to die, then what will she do? On this, she says that this is not a power, but a curse, and I do not want any such power. Now Shin sees that once again, his mobile is getting damaged. That's why he goes to Ao again and gets the phone repaired, but he gets scared to see that Ao's hands are also disappearing. That's why he decides to save her and calls her to meet after finishing the work. Ao also thinks at first and then promises to meet in the coffee shop. When she comes, Shin sees that Ao's hands are getting cured, which makes him very happy. Ao asks him why he called her here. To this, he says that he has the power to see the future, but he also doubted that Ao would not believe him. That is why he says sorry and leave. But when he came out and started going toward home, suddenly he felt a sharp pain in his chest. But somehow he manages to come home, and the next day with full confidence, he tells the owner that he is fully ready to become a manager. Also, he works in the garage till late night, where Ao also comes to meet him. Shin is surprised to see her, and Ao tells that she has taken Shin's address from the store, and she has come here to talk about something important. Shin offers him coffee. Then Ao, while keeping a newspaper, tells that there is a factory some distance away from her store where there was an attack last night, and many people died in this attack. Ao is among those dead people. It could have happened because she goes home by the same route after finishing work every day. But that night, Shin saved her. She says that I remember that thing about seeing your future and death. She also thanks Shin, but he laughs it off. The next day, as soon as owner's daughter comes to the store, she understands that someone had come here last night. She asks Shin about it, and he also tells her the truth with complete honesty.
She is happy about this because this was the first time Shin was making friends with someone, whereas before this, he never allowed anyone to come near him. Here, we are told a small story of the past in which a worker girl used to work at Honor's garage. She liked Shin. Both of them were just friends. Shin never paid attention to her. That is why that girl made a relationship with a rich customer. The story again comes to the present, where Honor's daughter and Shin hear Honor's voice, who was shouting at at the jail worker because he had taken a customer's car from here to meet his friend without informing Honor. But instead of accepting his mistake, the owner gets angry at Shin and picks up something and hits Shin, due to which the owner punches him hard and fires him from the job. But as soon as that worker leaves, Shin sees Honor's hands, which are suddenly disappearing. It means Honor's life is also in danger. That's why he decides to save him and asks him to have dinner with him after finishing the work. Honor also agrees, and both of them start walking towards the hotel. But on the way, Shin's attention was only on Honor and the things around him. Meanwhile, from a dark place, the jail worker was coming towards Honor with an iron rod to hit him, but Shin comes in between and saves him, due to which Honor's life is saved. But Shin gets a heart attack and he wakes up directly in the hospital, where the doctor tells him
he had confessed his mistake. After that, the doctor checks Shin and says that maybe this happened due to stress. Meanwhile, Shin sees a little girl who was disappearing and he tries to follow her. Then the doctor stops him and asks if you also saw that girl disappearing. After this, both of them go to talk on the roof of the hospital, where the doctor tells that I also have this ability, and it is called Fortuna, which is also the name of this film. But we are common people. There is no God. Therefore, we do not have the right to change or play with someone's fate. And if someone does this, then on the contrary, his life can be in danger. So whatever is happening to whom, let it happen. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. And this is also the reason for your heart attack. After this, Shin was thinking about this the whole way, and the next day, he calls Ao to meet him and also proposes her for marriage. But Ao leaves from here without giving any answer. But then the next day, she agreed. Because of this, both of them start meeting and their love deepens. Meanwhile, the jail worker comes to the owner again to ask for work. Then Shin also recommends him, so the owner hires him. Because of this, he thanks both the owner and Shin. The next day, Shin gets 2 rings made for himself, and Ao also goes to the hospital for checkup, where the doctor alerts him that if he gets a heart attack next time, he can even die. After this, Shin goes to his garage, where a boy had come to get his car repaired. This is none other than the friend of Shin's same friend, that is, the rich customer with whom he had a relationship and left from here. That is why Shin asks him about his friend. Then this boy started saying bad things about him. He also spoke bad things about Shin, but Shin remained completely silent. The next day, when he comes to take his car, Shin sees that this boy is also disappearing in the air, meaning that he is also going to die. But Shin decides not to do anything. A few days later, we see Shin at the funeral of that man when he was being buried, where his little daughter is crying for her father. Shin felt very sad after seeing that girl. Also, he repeatedly remembers the girl who was at the place of the plane crash, whom she could not save. The next day, he sits sadly in a park where some children are playing with their teacher. Then a girl comes to him and asks for a ball, but slowly that girl's body also starts disappearing, and along with the other children and even the teacher's body suddenly started disappearing. That's why Shin checks the hands of all the children, but the teacher felt that he was doing something wrong with the children. That's why she leaves from there with all the children, and a letter from the school falls from her hand in which it was written that the school children are going on a trip by train. He understands that something is going to go wrong. That's why the next day he goes to the station where many passengers are disappearing in the same way. Then Shin understands that the train leaving at 7:30 the next morning is going to have an accident.
And he was completely sure of this because it was written in the school letter that the children are going on a trip the next day by this train. Then Shin remembers that Ao also travels by this train. That means her life was also in danger. That's why he goes to Ao's house at night to meet her and was happy to see her safe and sound. But to save her from the impending danger, he asks Ao to go on a trip with him for 3 days. She thinks at first, but then says yes, and Shin was happy too. But he had to save those children and other passengers too. That is why he calls the school to cancel the trip. But due to a lack of any valid reason, the school authority refuses to cancel cancel the trip. In the evening, Shin writes a letter in which he is telling everything to Ao truthfully. This includes the matter of the trip. He also writes how much he loves Ao, but his entire planning fails the next morning when Ao messages him and tells him that her co-worker is unwell, so she is forced to go to the store. As soon as he reads this message, Shin starts running towards the station, but the police was waiting for him outside the house. Actually, the school teacher had complained against him that he was misbehaving with the children, but to save Ao, he escapes from the police. But on reaching the station, he sees that Ao has already boarded the train. That is why he takes a taxi and reaches another station so that he can stop the train before it reaches there. Here, he sees that construction work is going on, seeing which he understands that a can being used in the construction will fall on the train compartment, killing all the people. But Shin does not let this happen. Instead, stands in front of the train with a smoke candle. Ao, who was in the compartment just behind the engine, also sees Shin and asks the driver to stop the train. Then the driver also stopped the train. Meanwhile, we are shown the train falling down. That means Shin had stopped this train accident and saved the lives of all the people. Ao immediately comes out of the train, where she sees Shin sitting on the tracks. But as soon as she came close to him, she starts crying bitterly. She hugs him because she had lost her life to save Ao and the others. At Shin's funeral, Ao learns that she is the first girl with whom Shin had met so much. This makes him even more sad. And in the next scene, we come to know that Ao was the same girl whom Shin had seen at the time of the plane crash, who had asked for help. Now, Shin had saved her before the part of the plane fell, but he was in such a shock that he did not remember that he had saved her. Here, the truth also comes out that Ao had fortune, and she was always looking for Shin. That is why when Shin came to the shop for the first time and reacted after seeing Ao's disappearing hands, then she understood that Shin was that boy. Also, she had boarded the train intentionally because when Shin had gone to ask her for a trip, Ao had seen that his body was disappearing. That is why she decided to travel in the train to save Shin. But Shin also put his life at stake to save his love. After this, we see Ao reading a letter that Shin had written for her. After reading it, she cries a lot and feels Shin by wearing the rings brought by him. And with this, the story of this film ends here.